So, Yu-Hsin, fraud is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the more surprising or clever attacks that you've seen Radar have to solve for?
Yeah. So one of the things that Radar has and Stripe has made a lot of progress on is actually card testing over the past year. So card testing, unlike the traditional chargeback fraud, is high in velocity. So there are a lot of payments being attempted, and the attacker is trying to figure out which card is valid, card number is valid, so they can use those valid number once they have checked that. In another website to card cache, meaning defraud that particular card. That is an area that Stripe has made huge progress over the past year. We have actually driven down card testing by 50%, if not more, thanks to a lot of model investment and close partnership. And that is like a huge new area that we've uncovered. When you're thinking about specific domains, what we're actually seeing is there are segments in the digital space that fraudsters are targeting more aggressively than just like, car testing or other businesses. And those are what we would call like digital goods that help fraudster become more effective as a fraud, like defrauding users.
Things like compute power?
Not necessarily. It's like VPN,
Okay, right.
eSIM, and actually all the AI solutions. So you could, if you think about like, put yourself in the fraudster's shoe, you want to make sure you're not detected. You don't want to use your own phone number, and you maybe need to generate a lot of numbers, or you need to help write a script to generate a bunch of numbers to then card test against. Those things are things that AI products, eSIM and VPN allows you to do. So what we're actually seeing is like those businesses struggling more with higher volumes of fraud, but also more sophisticated fraud.
That's interesting. So if you're seeing this sort of more sophisticated type of fraud, what's Stripe doing? How are we evolving to help customers with that?
Yeah, I think one of the investment we are making on the Radar front is like really expanding the definition of what we care about with regards to like when we define fraud. So Radar historically has been very laser focusing on chargeback fraud, meaning a payment results in a fraudulent dispute and preventing those fraudulent disputes from coming in by using machine learning to detect them and prevent them for our users. But as these sort of abuse became more like sort of more sophisticated, and the payments may be that they're using for, say, defrauding an AI company may be legitimate. However, they jack up in a bunch of like API calls for them. We're realizing that we need other signals and like let user define their definition of fraud on top of just taking the definition from our banking partners like chargeback.
Because it might be a legitimate payment that's happening, but what they're doing with the goods after is something you want to prevent.
That's right. Okay. And then for us to detect them and help our users make those decisions, we're trying to show them additional information that our models are using to train today, but have not been exposed to our users. So for example, showing them, hey, these payments may look suspicious. Suspicious to the eye, meaning like, oh, these like names are clearly not like a legitimate name.
Right.
Or we see like these gibberish emails, like these payments may score very low on what Radar risk score is today, meaning they're very unlikely to result in chargebacks, but they seem iffy. And then we want to help users to look to surface them intelligently and help them to say, hey, like review these payments. And our users may have additional signals that we don't currently get today. So what I mean by signals here is who is the user that signed up on that particular, like say an AI company, like who signed up, what did they actually do, what prompts did they use? Those information we Stripe don't have. So we're surfacing the information just saying, hey, this particular email, this particular user is iffy. And that allows these teams at, your AI or eSIM company to fact check what this user is actually, how the user is actually using their product, to make a joint decision of saying, oh, this is bad, we should like block them outright.
So is it similar to the way that a Stripe customer might set their usage-based billing meter as a thing that they want to track billing for. Will we get to a point where they can set their sort of fraud detector as a thing that they want to track fraud for, and they can configure that themselves?
Yeah, we're hoping to get there, like with like sort of exposing more of these like aspects of fraud, and so they can then configure, oh, like this, say gibberish email is something I really care about. I just, given my business, no legit users will actually do this. So, and I have a very small, like a lot of AI company startups that we talk to are run really lean, right? So they're saying like, I am the only engineer that works on fraud, but also maintain everything. So I am willing to be more conservative in my fraud protection. I want to block all these like suspicious looking payments. But so they should be able to tune that in Radar in the future.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there are also businesses that are saying like, hey, we actually have a large operations team that can review single payments. For us, like really prioritizing conversion and growth is more important to us. Let me accept these maybe suspicious looking payments, knowing that they are suspicious. So like knowing that actually gives a lot of our users the peace of mind for now. And then this allows them to like take that risk with eyes wide open and change their stance depending on like where they are with their fraud rate.
So as we were setting up here, you were showing me a little bit about some of the stuff that we were launching at Sessions around kind of reducing disputes and kind of fixing the way we can have a smart automation.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit to that and what Stripe's doing there?
Yeah. So like one thing that we realized, obviously, with the changes that's coming to the industry with AI and such, is like people expect products to do more for them, right? And like fraud historically has been like a very tedious space. So like if the Radar Shield model can block payments for you, that's great. But then there's like a bunch of like kind of suspicious medium risk payments that just like will go through. You cannot review every single one of them. That will be very tedious for our teams. And you also don't want to just let them through, because when they're medium risk, that means like maybe half of them still result in fraudulent dispute. So you're like on the hook for that sort of fraud loss. And what we have done and like talked about at Sessions is, as a part of the payment intelligence suite, we have this new feature for adaptively requesting 3DS on these medium risk protection. So under the hood, we built a unified decision-making model to help you optimize when requesting an extra layer of 3DS is beneficial to you, given your desire of converting that payment, the amount of that particular charge, plus the likelihood of it resulting in fraud.
Interesting. So at Sessions, I did a breakout with a product manager called Tanya Boito about a new product called Stripe Workflows. And one of the examples we showed in our breakout was how you can accept Stripe alert from Radar.
Yeah.
And to take that alert and to say that, oh, there's a possible dispute that might arise here, and to use the sort of logic in workflows to say, if this amount was less than the cost of the dispute, let's just refund it automatically and move on, right? But what you're talking about here is like the next evolution of that within Radar itself.
Yeah. I think like that what Tanya talked about, and like what is like actually interesting as like what Radar is trying to invest in, is we really believe there are like multiple layer of defenses, right? Like you cannot, blocking seems to just like be one thing that you do at payment time. But like thinking about when and how to smartly refund, very important. Thinking about not just blocking, but stepping up with an authentication that gives you liability shift when that goes through.
So stepping up means adding like an extra layer of challenge or something.
That's right. So the extra layer of challenge is what, in the banking world people call 3D secure.
Right.
It is required in some regions. So like in EU and Japan, requesting these authentication is required. In US, it's not. So when it's not required, then you can use the property of 3D Secure that comes with liability shift most of the time as a lever to save on fraud. What liability shift means is when the cardholder successfully authenticates a payment, the issuing bank actually will hold the liability. And so the merchant, most of us like Stripe users, will not be held accountable for that fraud loss if that particular payment actually results in fraud.
Right, okay.
So when we step up, adding that extra friction, sometimes it goes through just frictionless, meaning it will just reroute the payment and you'll go through because the bank doesn't think it's high risk.
So why not step up by default?
Good question. Yes, we actually have many users who ask us why not step up by default. This stepping up could also look like requesting a one-time password or wanting you to authenticate with fingerprint or your Face ID. That comes with a conversion loss risk.
Right. People drop off. Can't be bothered or something. Right.
That's right. Yeah. So you would only probably want to do that for payments where you really think hey, it's kind of risky, but not risky enough for me to just outright block it, but somewhat risky. So I want to get this extra signal to see if it's at the actual cardholder trying to make a payment.
And so the new, what did you call it? Smart Studio?
No, it's called Adaptive 3DS.
Adaptive 3DS. When you turn this on, Stripe decides for you when to step up on
Correct.
purchase. I see. Okay. And will this be something that you can sort of configure and dial up or down in the future for different regions, for example?
Yeah, so we currently make that sort of decision on your behalf. So as I said, this multi-headed model will help you decide which region makes most sense. But I think we're open to feedback. We'd love to hear from users to say I want this shape of configurability. That would be really valuable to us. What we are already aware of from chatting with a couple of customers is that larger businesses have different sort of business units, you may say. So if you think a food delivery marketplace, the risk tolerance for those food deliveries themselves versus their subscription service is very different.
Right.
So they may have a different kind of risk. They want to be able to say, hey, for my subscription business, I have a different risk posture than my individual delivery. Or think about rideshare, the subscription business versus the rides themselves. So being able to expose that level of configuration is something we're thinking about in the future, but we don't know quite what the dials are that we want to expose. And there's always a bit of a tension with exposing more dials. So Radar historically just has a lot of rules. So we say, hey, you write any rules that you want. But actually, many of users tell us which rule to write. I don't know which. Yeah. I don't know payments.
Just make it work.
Yeah, just make it work for us. So we're really on the Radar side saying heard your feedback or just give you knobs that you can turn on and off.
Right.
That gives you baseline better protection. And now if you really want to customize, because say, you do not do business with, say, Brazil. And so I just really should not be seeing any Brazilian cards. That's not something we can know on your behalf.
Sure.
But those are then decisions that you can implement with rules in a deterministic manner, in addition to these automated protection that we can give you.
Got it. Okay. So this is going out on our Stripe developer YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so I want you to tell our audience, who are mostly developers, what is something that they should know about Radar as a developer? Is there anything in particular that they need to be aware of when building or operating an integration with Radar?
Yeah. So every single time I feel I talk to a developer, I tell them, I look at the particular Stripe integration they've chose. So for example, if they use checkout or Stripe elements, that's great.
Right.
Because those integration paths are owned, the front end is owned by Stripe. So the Stripe owned front end actually allows Radar to have a lot of front end signals.
And by signals, it's data inputs.
Data inputs right. What is the IP of the end user? Did the end user interact with the checkout page? These sort of front-end cookies, device ID, those information is something that we can then use on the Radar modeling front to help improve our performance in our predictions.
So payment links, elements, checkout, these are all really
they're great.
Lots of signals
That's
going.
Right. Okay, that's right. And if your company uses something like a raw API integration, that is also very viable. Like it still works for you, but you could really improve your radar performance by leveraging radar sessions.
Right.
So radar sessions is like just like an additional layer of integration that you could add that says, hey, on top of just sending this API call, I'm also capturing in the front end some of these information that you only get by using Stripe.js. So the IP, email, etc. Those then can be fed into Stripe. The way to think about it is like, Stripe processes so much payments, thankfully. And like all those payments that we process are then used to train our models. So if we've seen a particular suspicious looking email or a suspicious looking device on some of the other Stripe merchant, we'll be able to feed that signal in for your specific payment. But if that payment doesn't come with those information, we cannot make those predictions. So by like giving us more data through like these improved integration path can really help you boost performance, not just on Radar. We have a lot of like within the payment intelligence suite, other products like authorization boost, those like sort of cost optimization, authorization optimization, and fraud optimization should all work in tandem. And those data that you sort of like entrust Stripe with can help Stripe make better decisions for you.
So the key takeaway is give Stripe as much information as possible for them to kind of protect you as much as possible.
That's right.
And if you're using raw APIs, you can still add that information by using the front end SDKs.
That's right.
Okay. So more work for you, but you'll be more kind of protected. Yeah. Okay. So what's some of the things you're most excited about in the future of, for example, the world of agentic e-commerce? How are the challenges going to change? We've spoke a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's more that you can divulge about that.
So I think there is probably a couple angles to that. One angle is like on what Stripe should do to protect our Stripe ecosystem. And then the other is what products should Stripe build to enable our users make better decisions, given that, AI is already transforming how we write code.
Yeah.
Like theoretically, everything should be better, right? Where's my flying car?
Yeah.
So maybe I can talk about both of them. On the ecosystem front, I think a lot of the people are talking about like, oh, if we're going to have agents make purchases, is the bot detection correct, right? Like a lot of the advancement we made on the car testing front is assuming, it's like bots who are making these scripted attacks. So I think there's opportunities for Stripe to really evolve the detection. And I think a lot of the work that we're working on the agentic commerce front, just having like determined APIs to say, oh, this is like a federated checkout session. This is how we will make those facilitate those payments. That is what will help Stripe make those decisions, because Radar then can use those information to determine whether it's fraud or not. On the other front, on like what are exciting features that we could enable, we're really thinking about leaning into what we've done for Adaptive 3DS going forward, thinking about what are AI features we could build for our users that removes the manual work. So manual work, maybe it could look like, oh, we detect when you're entering like a fraud pain state, either because you're edging towards a monitoring program threshold or you're seeing more fraud than usual. And we adapt Radar's block rate and behaviors on your behalf. Or we allow you to tell us, hey, like my business is currently prioritizing growth or prioritizing lowering risk, and adapt Radar holistically on your behalf. So I think these are sort of ways we're thinking about like taking the work off of our users' plates.
Like the undifferentiated stuff that everyone needs.
Yeah. And then there's like, at the end of the day, also ways for us to make these manual workflows better, right? Like, so right now, when we talk to fraud analysts, they say, oh, I go through every single payment, review them myself. So we're also exploring ways to use AI to help with that workflow. Because like, why isn't there like a agent that just helped me summarize the last couple of reviews that I need to do? I think those pieces are really more out there and early. So we'll have to see how far we get. But I think I see there a lot of opportunities to just like elevate and automate a lot of the work we're doing.
It's really nice actually to hear some of the back end pieces that you're doing, like not the summary stuff, but like the machine learning stuff, some really sensible implementation of like old school AI, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Okay, so what would be a great place for our developer audience to go and learn more about Radar and build with Radar?
Yeah, I think going to the Stripe Docs page obviously is perfect. There's a Radar section. There is also like on the Radar session piece, there's like a Radar sessions doc section to help you understand how to integrate. There's also a separate page that lists out the kinds of integrations and their like integration quality from a model performance perspective. So that can help you assess, like, is this like additional performance gain that Radar is seeing on average by changing the integration worth it for their businesses.
Great. And I think we've got to get you back on the channel here and you can demo some of the stuff you're talking about in person.
Of course.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.